Printed media versus multimedia, contrasting the differences between the two medias. Now, firstly, we're going to take a look at printed media, and essentially printed media is media that is put on or printed on to paper-based documents such as books, magazines, and encyclopedias. They are created using a combination of still text and images, essentially things that are still, the two media types that are still, they don't move. Printed media is sold in stores as hard copies, though it can also be delivered to individuals' homes through subscription programs and online purchasing. Printed media has been around for centuries and it's still considered by many the preferred way to read large amounts of textual data. Obviously, if pages are full of text, people like to read that off paper. Sometimes staring at a computer screen hurts people's eyes for large amounts of text, and that is why it is preferred in the case. The advantages of printed media as well are that there is no power necessary, okay, and stemming from that, nor is there a need for a specific device to view the printed media, okay. If you've got the piece of paper, that's all you need. You've got the book, that's all you need. It's independent of electricity and it's independent of device. So essentially what we are looking at is paper-based documents, okay, that have text printed on them and lots of rows of text for us to read, and they can also include images. Okay, and as I just stated at the beginning, it's only those two types of media that can be viewed on printed media. Okay, just text and images, but essentially they display them effectively. They're easy on the eyes because obviously of the paper format. Okay, and as said, still preferred by many, the preferred way to read large amounts of textual data. Next, we'll move on to multimedia, and I'll say it right from the beginning now, stemming from that. It contains at least three media types, okay? And try to think of it in your head as paper-based media for the printed media could only display text and images. So essentially, once we get into a third media type being added on, we are now in multimedia category, okay? And it's because it can display those media types that do contain moving elements. Okay, so as said in this first line here, it contains obviously a combination of text, hypertext, images, audio, animation, and video elements. At least three of those. Okay, hypertext is thrown in there obviously as well because it links interfaces together when you use hypertext. You click on it and takes the user to another location. Information is presented on devices such as computers, tablets, mobile phones, and other digital devices. If it's digital, you're probably viewing it in a multimedia format. Since multimedia is digital, it allows for interactivity with the user who can navigate the product through the hyperlinks and pre-programmed buttons as well as gestures. Okay, so it is user oriented. That interactivity means that the user can look at something, they can press on something with their hand if it's a touch-based device, or they can click on it if it's on a computer, and it will take them to another area of the multimedia package, okay, through the use of buttons and hyperlinks. Areas where multimedia may be used include websites, games, apps, and information kiosks. Okay, you see multimedia every day, wherever you are, at school, playing your games, at the shops, when looking up a store, it's everywhere. Multimedia can also be copied and distributed easily via email, okay, but also and more than likely downloaded through app stores and websites. Okay, when you want a new app on your phone, you access the relevant app store, you go to it and you download, okay, a new app, and that's a sample of multimedia there. Okay, so it is extremely accessible from almost any geographical location in the world, provided you have an internet connection, because that's how you connect to the actual app store. Multimedia is also still distributed and installed through DVD and Blu-ray. Okay, when you go to your shops, your JB Hi-Fis, your Walmarts, okay, you can still buy them because that way, obviously, the media is actually stored on the disc as opposed to you having to store that file size on your system. Okay, and often in the cases of multimedia files, they are large because they've got large graphics in there, video and sound, which all have large file sizes. And so if we have them on optical disc, okay, which is still popular, although we are obviously using a lot more streaming services these days, okay, we can view them at our leisure. But essentially what we're talking about when we're viewing multimedia is we can view it on multiple devices. So on my computer, my tablet, on my TV, on my mobile phone, and obviously being distributed via the internet as well as DVD and Blu-ray. Okay, and that's kind of the backbone these days of when we are viewing our multimedia, because there are so many streaming services now. We can stream our radio online. Okay, there's obviously things such as Spotify for streaming music as opposed to actually installing it on our phone, as well as Apple Music. Okay, and then obviously the popularity of Netflix and online movie rental systems. Okay, for viewing movies. Okay, in high definition and 4K, which is extremely large file sizes, through the internet as opposed to us getting a physical copy and owning it. All right, so it's extremely popular multimedia these days. It's everywhere. But look, in finality, let's just have a look at both printed media and multimedia side by side. So firstly, printed media is displayed as still text and images, the media types that don't move. Okay, whereas multimedia can be text, hypertext, audio, animation, and video. At least 3 of these types are in effect for the actual package to be considered a multimedia package. Okay, it is viewed on paper documents such as books, magazines, and encyclopedias. But as said with multimedia, it's viewed on digital devices such as tablets, mobile phones, and computers. Okay, with printed media, there is minimal interactivity. You can turn in the pages. You might be able to fill in crosswords or do a little maze with your pen on the paper, but it's very minimal. There's also those choose your pathway books where you can turn to a specific page, but not much interactivity. Whereas multimedia, the whole backbone of it is that it's interactive. That's the whole pro of actually doing it. It's meant to be interactive, and it's interactive through the use of hyperlinks, buttons, mouse clicks, keyboard presses, okay, and gestures for touch devices, which allow the user to orientate where they want to go in the multimedia software. Okay, for printed media, it's distributed through newsagents, bookstores, and libraries, and can also be delivered through online stores and subscription services, whereas multimedia is distributed via email, downloaded through app stores and the internet, and installed through external storage such as DVDs and Blu-ray. Okay, and then finally is document authority. Okay, now I didn't mention this when we were actually looking at individually, but for authority, those who own the actual multimedia, okay, or have developed it, okay, we're looking at writers, editors, and publishers, okay, for those who develop the actual printed media. Okay, and that's pretty consistent for all types of print media. But what we're going to say with multimedia, because we've got multiple media types, and those media types are a lot harder to create, we do have the writers, editors, and publishers, but also we've got web hosts and different media designers such as graphic designers. We have video production teams involved. If you've ever finished one of your video games, once you finish the game, you see the end credits, you see how many people there were involved in the making of that package, okay? So obviously authority is more widely spread due to the more people working on those documents. So I hope this video has given you an understanding of the differences between printed media and multimedia. Printed media not being obsolete due to the fact that it is sometimes still considered the preferred way to read large amounts of text, okay, and obviously being independent of devices through it being on paper, okay, and not needing electricity either, though multimedia having the advantages of its ease of distribution through email and web stores, okay, the fact that it can include larger all the different types of media types, okay, and essentially through the internet, okay, you can access it anywhere in the world, okay, and that whole fine thing that with actual multimedia, it is interactive, it is user oriented, making it more fun for the user and obviously improving the user experience when using it.